We now know the full offer that Buratsuta had for Nagi, and it was terrible. So as you all know, Nagi did turn him down. However, what was the actual offer now that it's translated? So Buratsuta reveals that there's actually 26 players that can be picked for the U20 World Cup. However, so far only 23 have been picked. So there are 3 extra spots that are specifically reserved for him to pick. Now, one of those spots is already completely reserved for Saitoshi because he's that guy. Now, he actually wants Nagi to be one of those 3 players to pass the test because he wants to prove that Ego's methods are actually wrong. Essentially, having Nagi show up to the U20 World Cup to prove that Ego should have never eliminated him in the first place so that he can take over Blue Lock completely. And while that part of the deal doesn't seem so bad, the second part of the deal seems terrible, where Buratsuta says that from there on, he controls his soccer career and contracts fully. Not just Blue Lock, not just U20, but everything after that. So he'd probably be able to pick his teams, his pay, everything. And so Nagi, of course, turns it down, not just because it's a terrible deal, but then the other reason being he doesn't want to betray Ego, which might actually be the reason he comes back into Blue Lock. Because if you guys remember, it's actually shown in the previous chapters that Henri was listening the entire time, and typically Henri and Ego are together. So even if Ego didn't hear it directly, Henri is probably going to relay that information back to Ego, and he may or may not be impressed enough to let him back. Either that, or it might have the opposite effect that he says, oh, look, you didn't have enough ego to toss even me aside to come back to soccer. But that's the full deal that Buratsuta had for Nagi. I think it was a terrible deal. I'm glad that he turned it down, but let me know what you guys think.